Alexis, I know that you have been watching this. You've been at the edge of your seat. As the co-founder of Reddit, what is your take on what has been happening before our very eyes?
Well, look, and let me say above all, right? I can't speak for Reddit. I'm no longer on the board of the company. I'm, as someone who, yes, co-founded it, I've definitely been observing something that it reminds me of things we've seen over the last 15 years, where it's a similar story of a sort of a small moment that gets people's attention. This Reddit user goes by Roaring Kitty. Many months ago, being excited about the GameStop stock, doing a deep dive on YouTube, justifying why he's excited to buy it, and it's snowballing and snowballing and snowballing, and it's something now that has become very clearly a deeply personal phenomenon, and I kind of I would equate it to like folks voting with their dollars in order to get back at or make a statement towards big finance. And what we've seen today is pretty shocking. Robinhood shutting down the ability to buy stocks. This feels like the very thing all of these people are railing against.
So, do you think we're entering a new phase of internet activism? Like, could this start the next Occupy Wall Street?
I think very much. I mean, just even seeing the sentiment, the comments, the very personal stories of people who have been crushed by '08 or who were crushed by '08 and felt like no one was looking out for them. I think this is very much the drum circle, so to speak, of Zuccotti Park having gotten now much bigger thanks to the connected internet, and then much more effective, frankly, because every one of us now has access to buy and sell stocks. We have access to the same data everyone else does. We have access to the same like computational processing power that these funds do, and people saw an opportunity where somehow hedge funds were able to extend shorts on more than 100% of the actual shares available for a company, which seems deeply problematic. And they saw this and they used their dollar votes to buy shares in a company, and it's become something much bigger. And I do think there's no genie going back in the bottle. And if anything, the arguments for decentralization have just gotten a lot stronger. Because this feels very disenfranchising for a lot of Americans right now to know that they can't buy shares, and it just reiterates, it reinforces this sentiment that the cards are stacked against the average American when it comes to big finance, and I'll say one other thing too. It's telling when you see.
Go ahead.
It's telling when you see AOC on the same in agreement with like Tucker Carlson, right? You have both sides of the political spectrum agreeing on something. That when that happens, it's rare, and it makes me lean in and want to learn more.
You took the words right out of my mouth. AOC tweeting today, "This is unacceptable. We now need to know more about Robinhood's decisions to block retail investors from purchasing stock while hedge funds are freely able to trade the stock as they see fit. As a member of the Financial Services Committee, I'd support a hearing." Do you think cutting off Robinhood, making this decision to cut off these trades, knowing that some people were probably investing some money that they don't have, was that the right call?
I mean, it certainly doesn't look like it. And let's be clear, they were blocking the ability to buy, not the ability to sell. And yeah, this feels, and I think you're seeing very vocally from so many people on the internet, a very justified outrage. This feels like a very broken promise, especially from a company that promised to give power to the people, or I forget their tagline, but this seems to be the exact opposite of what Robinhood aspires to be.
That said, there have been folks out there pleading with, some of these individuals, don't want to be the one left holding the bag. And a lot of people lost a lot of money today. And I'm curious, do you have a message for the people? Chris Sacca, longtime tech investor, said, don't trade what you can't afford to lose. There's hopelessness and depression ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Chris shared some really personal stories, and I remember reading that and retweeting it. And I think you've been hearing from a lot of folks, myself included, right? Don't invest what you can't afford to lose. And I think it's worth noting that this is something I think for a lot of people that was a statement as much as it was an investment. I can't speak for folks, but this is a shift, and I think for me, this is one more example of the strength of community. And I know it's something I've been talking about for a long time that continues to surprise me in ways that were totally unexpected, like this. But we're in a world where now the strength of community of whether it's a bunch of K-pop fans or whether it's a community called Wall Street Bets, the strength of a community is very real. And I think you had folks who whether they were investing because of momentum, whether they were investing because of fundamentals, whether they're investing because it was a statement. It was all the above. Um, I do I do really feel like the root of this is a financial system that has gone unchecked for a long time, and of folks who have pushed for less and less regulation and less oversight, and largely gotten it. And when they've gotten into trouble, the average American is one who bails them out. And so I think what happens going forward, I'm happy to see AOC talking about investigation, because I think the American public wants an answer, and certainly deserves one, as to why for a whole day, and maybe even still to this, I don't know as of this minute, but they haven't been able to actually buy and sell on the purportedly free market.
What about the risks that these forums can pose, though, in an age of misinformation and hype? How do we give people that power, but combat, you know, potential lies?
Emily, I think this is the question for the decade, and we've seen it. We have had versions of this discussion around politics. We've had a lot of conversation around this. I think something Chamath brought up on CNBC that was really telling was, to the credit of these communities, they are publishing their work publicly. They're not doing this behind small cigar-filled rooms, where actually typically this kind of stuff is done. And I do think we're in an era now where we have ubiquity of this technology. We have the financial technical infrastructure, the fintech infrastructure, whether it's decentralized or not. I think this brings about a wave of new companies that are actually working to harness the sort of collective intelligence of lots of people. The sort of,
Right.
what does the decentralized version of this fund sort of look like, of these investing strategies and tactics look like? But one thing's for sure, everyone who's participated in this in one way or another isn't just going to forget. And there is, I think, a Rubicon that's been crossed. And so now we need to figure out how the financial markets are going to react to a world, or sort of be adapted to a world where retail has real weight, and that the
Right.
consumer actually has the ability to do what the banks have done for a long time.
We got just about 30 seconds left, Alexis, and
Mhm.
I want to hear what you're doing now, what you're doing at 776. Where you think the world is going when it comes to the intersection of community and capital, and where you're placing your bets in a nutshell.
That the community, that intersection of community and capital, is something that I really didn't even fully process until over the past year, and it's become so apparent to me. And as more and more tools get into the hands of more and more people to put their hard-earned dollars in a world with zero to negative interest rates, and in a world where people are looking for more opportunity, I think everything from like the value of cryptocurrencies to trading cards are going to continue to appreciate, as there's more and more interest for individuals to be able to take control and get access and get yield for themselves, and that it shouldn't just be the realm of
Right.
the ultra rich anymore.